This black woman is 8 months pregnant, yet she still has to sit under the midday sun selling a few boxes of fruit on the sidewalk because in her pocket she has only $7 left and a pile of unpaid bills. As she worries about how she will survive the day, a frail, elderly woman trembling from hunger stands staring at the fruit. Before a word can be spoken, a man rushes over angrily, scolding the old woman and driving her away like trash. In that moment, the woman calls the old lady back and personally hands her a box of fruit and a bottle of water, the most valuable things she has. But she never imagined that this single act of kindness would become the biggest turning point of her life. Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from. And subscribe because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. The alarm never went off because Maya Thompson couldn't afford batteries. Instead, she woke to the dull throb in her lower back and the sharp jab of tiny feet against her ribs. 8 months pregnant, and her baby had better timing than any clock. Maya pressed her palm against her belly, feeling another kick. I know, she whispered. Just a few more weeks. Hold on for me. The room came into focus slowly. Peeling wallpaper, a brown water stain spreading across the ceiling like a map of nowhere. The fan in the corner rattled with every rotation, barely pushing the thick Detroit summer air around the room. Maya sat up, her body protesting every movement, and reached for the bottle of water she'd left by the mattress. Warm. Everything in this place was either too hot or too cold, never just right. She stood carefully, one hand on the wall for balance, and walked the 3 steps it took to cross her entire living space. This wasn't a bedroom. It wasn't even a studio. It was a room in a boarding house near the bus station, the kind of place where you heard everything through the walls and learned to ignore it all. Last night it was a couple fighting. The night before, someone's TV blasting infomercials at 3 a.m. Tonight it would probably be something else. Maya opened the drawer of the rickety dresser and pulled out her wallet. Thin, sad. The kind of wallet that felt lighter every time you touched it. She counted the bills, slowly smoothing each one out like it mattered. $7. That was it. That was the wall between her and complete collapse. $7 for food today, maybe bus fare if she had to go somewhere, and God forbid if something happened with the baby and she needed to get to the hospital. Her throat tightened. She set the money down on the dresser and stared at it. You can work hard in America and still be poor. That's what her grandmother used to say. Maya never understood it until now. She'd worked, hadn't she? 2 jobs before the pregnancy made standing for 8 hours unbearable. She'd saved what she could, and somehow it still wasn't enough. The father of her baby had disappeared the moment she told him. Just gone. Blocked her number, moved out of his apartment like she was a problem he could delete from his life. Maya had cried for 3 days straight, then decided crying wouldn't pay the rent. She'd thought about calling him again, begging him to come back to help to care. But then she realized something that hurt worse than being abandoned. Begging someone to stay was more painful than being alone. So she stopped calling. Maya picked up the $7 and folded them carefully into her pocket. Then she grabbed the small basket she used to carry her merchandise. Today, like yesterday and the day before, she'd go to the corner near the office buildings downtown. She'd sell what she could, cut fruit, bottled water, small snacks. The margins were tiny, but it was something. It had to be something. She caught her reflection in the cracked mirror by the door. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy bun, a thin jacket over a maternity shirt she'd worn 3 days in a row because she only had 2. You look like hell, she muttered to herself. Her baby kicked again, harder this time. Okay, I'm going. She touched her belly gently, almost apologetically. We're going to be fine. I promise. It was the kind of promise you make when you're not sure you can keep it, but you say it anyway, because the alternative is too terrifying. Maya locked the door behind her, though there was nothing in that room worth stealing, and walked down the narrow hallway. The stairs creaked under her weight. She passed Mrs. Fitch's door on the first floor. The landlady was probably watching TV, waiting to pounce the moment rent was a day late. Maya owed her for next week already. She'd have to figure that out. Somehow. Outside, the morning air hit her like a wave. Humid, sticky, the kind of heat that made you sweat before you even started moving. The bus station across the street was already crowded with people heading to work, to appointments, to wherever people with places to go went. Maya used to be one of them. Now she just watched them pass by. She walked 3 blocks to her usual spot, a corner near a cluster of office buildings where people in ties and heels streamed past during lunch. She spread out her small blanket on the sidewalk, arranged her items neatly. A few containers of cut fruit, some bottled water, a handful of granola bars. It wasn't much, but it was hers. An older man in a suit walked past, glanced at her belly, then at the fruit, then kept walking without breaking stride. A woman in running gear did the same, then another. And another. Maya's hand went to her stomach again, not because the baby was kicking, but because she needed to hold on to something. She needed to feel like she was protecting someone, even if she couldn't protect herself. A man slowed down, looked at the water bottles, then at her. "How much?" he asked. $2, Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. He pulled out his wallet, handed her a 5, and took 2 bottles without waiting for change. "Keep it," he said, already walking away. Maya stared at the bill in her hand. $5. Combined with the 7 in her pocket, she now had 12. $12 felt like a fortune. It felt like breathing room. It felt like maybe, just maybe, she could make it through today without that constant knot of panic in her chest. "Thank you," she called after him, but he was already gone, swallowed by the crowd. She tucked the 5 into her pocket with the 7 and exhaled slowly. "Just a few more weeks," she whispered again, this time to herself more than the baby. "We can do this. Just hold on." The sun climbed higher, the sidewalk got hotter, and Maya stayed there waiting for the next person to stop the next small transaction that might add up to survival, because that's what life had become. Not living, just surviving, $1 at a time, and even that felt like it was slipping through her fingers. By noon, Maya had made $8, not counting the 5 from earlier, just 8 more from actual sales. 15 total. It should have felt like progress. Instead, it felt like treading water, exhausting and endless. She shifted her weight, trying to ease the pressure on her lower back. Her feet were swelling inside her worn sneakers. The baby had been quiet for the last hour, which worried her more than the kicking did. "You okay in there?" she murmured, rubbing her belly. A woman in expensive sunglasses walked by her gaze, sliding over Maya's setup and landing briefly on her pregnant stomach. The woman's lip curled slightly, not quite disgust, but close enough before she picked up her pace and disappeared into the crowd. Maya felt the familiar burn in her chest. Shame. Anger. A mix of both that she'd learned to swallow down because what else could she do? Yell at strangers. Defend herself to people who'd already decided what they thought about her. A security guard from one of the office buildings approached. He was young, maybe mid-20s, with the kind of face that tried to look stern, but mostly just looked uncomfortable. "Hey, he gestured vaguely at her blanket. "You can't be right here, not blocking the entrance." Maya looked behind her. She was a good 10 feet from the door. "I'm not blocking anything," she said quietly. "Yeah, but..." He glanced back at the building like someone was watching. "Just move down a bit, okay? People are complaining." "About what?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Maya gathered her things, folded the blanket, and moved 15 feet down the sidewalk. The guard nodded, satisfied with his small act of authority, and walked back inside. She wanted to scream. She wanted to throw something. Instead, she spread the blanket out again and arranged her items exactly as they were before. A man in a jogging outfit slowed down as he passed, looking at her with something between curiosity and judgment. "Didn't know how to use protection," he said, not quite under his breath. Maya's hands froze over the fruit containers. Her jaw tightened. She looked up at him, ready to say something, anything, but he was already jogging away, probably feeling clever about his little comment. Her vision blurred. She blinked hard, refusing to let the tears come. Not here. Not in front of everyone. "Hey!" Maya turned. It was Keisha Williams, her only real friend in this city. Keisha pushed a food cart, hot dogs, pretzels, drinks, and had been working this area longer than Maya. She was 24, rail thin, with box braids pulled back in a ponytail, and eyes that had seen too much too young. "You good?" Keisha asked, parking her cart next to Maya's spot. "Yeah." "Liar." Keisha crouched down, wincing at the pop in her knees. "I saw that asshole say something to you." "It's fine." "It's not fine." Keisha reached into her cart and pulled out half a pretzel wrapped in foil. "Here, eat." Maya shook her head. "I'm okay." "Maya, don't do that. Don't do the proud thing right now." Keisha pushed the pretzel into her hands. "You're eating for 2. Eat." Maya stared at the pretzel. Her stomach growled, betraying her. She hadn't eaten since yesterday afternoon a banana and some crackers that tasted like cardboard. "I can't take your food." Maya said softly. "You're not taking it. I'm giving it." Keisha stood up, brushing off her knees. "Look, I know you got your pride and all that, but pride doesn't feed a baby. So eat the damn pretzel." Maya's fingers tightened around the foil. She wanted to argue. She wanted to insist she was fine, that she didn't need help, that she could handle this on her own. But the truth was, she was so tired of pretending, so tired of holding it together when everything inside her was falling apart. "Thank you," Maya whispered. Keisha's expression softened. "Don't mention it. Seriously, don't. I got a reputation to protect." She smirked, but her eyes were sad. "You selling anything?" "A little. Not much." "Yeah, same. People act like spending $2 on a hot dog is going to bankrupt them, but they'll drop 50 on brunch without blinking." Keisha shook her head. "World's weird, man." Maya unwrapped the pretzel and took a small bite. It was cold and a little stale, but it tasted like the best thing she'd eaten in weeks. "You gonna be okay?" Keisha asked, her tone more serious now. "I don't know." "Honest answer. I respect that." Keisha glanced down the street, watching the flow of people in their business clothes, their clean shoes, their unbothered faces. "You know what kills me? We're invisible until we're in the way. Then suddenly, everyone notices." Maya swallowed the bite of pretzel. "Yeah. Listen." Keisha leaned closer, her voice dropping. "I know you got a good heart. I know you want to help people, but out here," she gestured at the street, the buildings, the endless stream of strangers. "You got to look out for yourself first. Nobody else is going to do it for you." "I know. Do you?" Keisha's gaze was sharp, almost maternal, despite being only 2 years older. "Because I've seen that look in your eyes. That maybe if I'm kind enough, the universe will be kind back look. And I'm telling you right now, the universe doesn't work like that. Not for people like us." Maya didn't respond. She couldn't, because part of her still wanted to believe Keisha was wrong. Part of her still wanted to believe that being good mattered, that doing the right thing counted for something. But the louder part, the part that woke up in a moldy room with $7 to her name, knew Keisha was probably right. "I gotta get back to work," Keisha said, standing up. "But seriously, keep that money. Don't give it away. Don't let anyone guilt you. You got a baby coming, and that baby needs you alive and fed. Okay? Say it like you mean it. Okay, I won't give it away." Keisha studied her for a moment, clearly not entirely convinced, but she nodded anyway. "All right, I'll check on you later." Maya watched her push the cart down the sidewalk, weaving through the crowd with practiced ease. Then she looked down at the half-eaten pretzel in her hand and felt the weight of everything pressing down on her shoulders. There are days when you're not hungry because you lack food. You're hungry because you lack someone who sees you as human. She finished the pretzel, slowly savoring each bite, and tried to ignore the people walking past her like she was part of the scenery. Just another obstacle, just another uncomfortable reminder that not everyone in this city was winning. A well-dressed couple walked by, the woman glancing at Maya's stomach with something that looked like pity, or maybe disgust. It was hard to tell. "Should have thought about that before," the woman muttered to her partner, just loud enough for Maya to hear. The man chuckled. They kept walking. Maya's hand instinctively moved to cover her belly, as if she could shield her baby from their judgment, from their cruelty, from the world that seemed determined to make her feel small. Society loves to sympathize with the poor, until the poor inconvenience their comfort. She folded the foil carefully, tucking it into her pocket to throw away later. Then she sat back on her heels and waited for the next customer, for the next small miracle, for the day to end so she could go back to that awful room and collapse without having to hold herself together anymore. But the day wasn't over yet, and neither was the test. It was almost 3 in the afternoon when Maya saw her. An old woman, maybe 70, maybe older. It was hard to tell. She was thin in the way that spoke of long-term hunger, not dieting. Her coat was too big, patched in several places with mismatched fabric. Her hair was white and wild, uncombed, sticking out from under a knit cap despite the summer heat. But her eyes were sharp, alert, the kind of eyes that had seen everything and were still looking. The woman stood about 10 feet away, staring at Maya's fruit containers. She didn't approach. She just stood there, swaying slightly, her hands trembling at her sides. Maya recognized that look. She'd worn it herself more times than she wanted to admit. It was the look of someone calculating whether asking for help would cost more than going without. The woman took a step closer. "Excuse me," she said, her voice hoarse and soft. "I'm sorry to bother you." "You're not bothering me," Maya said. The woman's hands twisted together. I haven't eaten since yesterday morning. Do you think, could I maybe have anything small? I don't need much." Maya's chest tightened. She looked down at her items. 3 containers of cut fruit left, 4 bottles of water, a handful of granola bars. If she sold everything at the prices she'd set, she'd make maybe $12 more. Combined with what she had in her pocket, that would be 27 total. Not enough for rent. Barely enough for groceries. Definitely not enough if something went wrong. But this woman was asking for food, not money. Just food. "Please," the woman added, her voice cracking. "I'll leave if you want. I just thought—" "No, wait." Maya reached for one of the fruit containers. "Hey!" Both women jumped. A man in a business suit had stopped on the sidewalk, glaring at the old woman like she was a stray dog. "Get out of here," he barked. "This isn't a soup kitchen." The old woman flinched, taking a step back. "She's not doing anything," Maya said, her voice sharper than she intended. "She's panhandling. It's illegal." "She asked me, not you." The man's face reddened. "You're both making this corner look like a homeless camp. Go somewhere else." He walked off, muttering under his breath. The old woman looked like she might cry. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have." "Don't apologize," Maya said. "You didn't do anything wrong." But the damage was done. The woman was already shuffling away, her shoulders hunched, her head down. Maya watched her go, feeling something sharp twist in her gut. Judgment is always cheaper than help. "Wait," Maya called. The woman stopped, but didn't turn around. Maya looked down at her supplies, at the money in her pocket, at her swollen belly and the baby inside who would need so much. And then she looked back at the old woman who was still standing there with her back turned, waiting to be dismissed. "Ma'am," Maya said, "please come back." The woman turned slowly, her eyes wary. "What's your name?" Maya asked. "Evelyn. Evelyn Brooks." "I'm Maya." She picked up a container of fruit and a bottle of water. "Here, take these." Evelyn's eyes widened. I don't have money." "I'm not asking for money." "But you're selling." "I'm giving," Maya said firmly. "Please, take them." Evelyn stepped closer, her hands shaking as she reached for the items. She held them like they were made of glass, like they might disappear if she gripped too hard. "Thank you," Evelyn whispered. "God bless you." Before Maya could respond, she heard a sharp intake of breath behind her. Keisha was standing there, her food cart beside her, staring at Maya with wide, disbelieving eyes. "Maya, what are you doing?" Keisha hissed. "Giving her some food." "With what money?" "I'm not charging her." "Maya, Keisha, she's hungry." "And you're pregnant." Keisha's voice rose, drawing looks from passers-by. She lowered it quickly, stepping closer. "Maya, I love you, I do. But you can't save everyone. You barely have enough to save yourself." Maya's hand moved to her stomach. She felt the baby shift like a reminder of what was at stake. When everyone says, "be kind," they really mean be kind when it costs you nothing. "I know," Maya said quietly. "Do you?" Keisha looked at Evelyn, who was standing there clutching the fruit and water like a lifeline. "Look, no offense, ma'am, but Maya's got a baby coming. She's got nothing. And I mean nothing. She can't afford—" "I know," Maya repeated more firmly this time. Keisha stared at her, frustration and fear warring on her face. "You're gonna regret this." "Maybe." "Definitely." Keisha shook her head. "Fine, do what you want, but don't come crying to me when you can't eat tomorrow." She walked off, pushing her cart with more force than necessary. Maya turned back to Evelyn, who looked stricken. "I'm sorry," Evelyn said. "Your friend is right. I shouldn't have asked. I'll give these back." "No." Maya's voice was gentle but firm. "Keep them, please." Evelyn's lips trembled. "Why, you don't even know me." "Because you're hungry," Maya said simply. "And I know what that feels like." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The city noise filled the silence, cars, honking, people talking, the distant wail of a siren. But between them, there was something quieter, something that didn't need words. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. "I used to be somebody you know. I had a home, a family, a son." She laughed, but it was hollow. Funny how fast things fall apart. Maya didn't ask what happened. She didn't need to. Everyone out here had a story, and most of them ended the same way, alone, broke, and invisible. "You're still somebody," Maya said. Evelyn wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "You're a good person. Your baby is lucky." Maya's throat tightened. She touched her belly, feeling a flutter of movement. Sometimes kindness isn't giving what you have extra. It's giving what you also need. "Go find somewhere safe to eat," Maya said. "And stay warm, okay?" Evelyn nodded, clutching the food like it was treasure. "Thank you. I mean it. Thank you." She turned and walked away, her steps a little steadier than before. Maya sat back down on her heels and looked at what was left. 2 containers of fruit, 3 bottles of water, a few granola bars. She reached into her pocket and counted her money again. $15. Not 27, just 15. The food she'd given away would have made maybe $5 or $6 if she'd sold it. Not a fortune, but enough. Her stomach growled. She ignored it. Fear makes people selfish, but not everyone lets fear win. "I'm sorry," she whispered to her belly. "I'm sorry if I just made things harder for us." But I couldn't. I couldn't just watch her walk away hungry. The baby kicked in response. Once, twice. Maya smiled, even though her eyes were burning with unshed tears. "Yeah," she murmured. "I hope you understand someday." By 5 o'clock, Maya had sold exactly 1 more bottle of water. $16 total. The sun was dipping lower, casting long shadows across the sidewalk. Her back ached. Her feet throbbed. The baby had been restless for the last hour, kicking and shifting, like it was trying to find a comfortable position that didn't exist. She packed up her things slowly, carefully, like she was handling something precious, instead of a threadbare blanket and a few unsold items. Keisha rolled past with her cart, not stopping, but calling out, "You heading home?" "Yeah, be safe." That was it. No lecture. No, "I told you so." Just a tired acknowledgement that they both lived in a world where "be safe" was the best goodbye you could offer. Maya slung her bag over her shoulder and started the walk back to her boarding house. 3 blocks felt like 3 miles when every step sent a jolt of pain up her spine. She stopped twice to catch her breath, leaning against a storefront window and trying not to look at her reflection at the exhaustion written across her face. When she finally reached the boarding house, Mrs. Fitch was standing on the porch, arms crossed. "Maya," she said, her tone clipped. "Mrs. Fitch, rent's due in 3 days." "I know." "You gonna have it?" Maya swallowed. "I'm working on it." Mrs. Fitch's expression didn't soften. "Working on it isn't the same as having it. I got bills too, you know. I can't run a charity." Funny how landlords hate charity but love late fees. "I'll have it," Maya said, even though she had no idea how. Mrs. Fitch looked her up and down, her gaze lingering on Maya's belly. "You should call your family. Get some help." "I don't have family." "Then call the father." Maya's jaw tightened. "He's not in the picture." "Well, maybe he should be." Mrs. Fitch's tone turned judgmental, that familiar edge that made Maya feel like she was being scolded. "You got yourself into this situation. You gotta get yourself out." Maya didn't respond. There was no point. She just nodded and walked past, climbing the stairs to her room with legs that felt like lead. Inside, the air was stifling. She set her bag down, opened the window. It stuck halfway and sat on the edge of her mattress. The springs creaked under her weight. She pulled out her wallet and counted the money one more time. $16. She needed to save it. Every penny. For rent, for food, for the hospital when the baby came. But her stomach was so empty it hurt. And the baby needed food. The baby needed her to eat. Maya closed her eyes and tried to do the math. If she spent $3 on a meal tonight, she'd have 13 left. If she didn't eat, she'd have 16. $3 could mean the difference between a sharp pain shot through her abdomen. Maya gasped, doubling over. Her hand flew to her stomach. "No, no, no," she whispered. "Not yet. Please, not yet." The pain faded after a few seconds, leaving behind a dull ache. Braxton Hicks, probably. Practice contractions. She'd had them before, but they were getting stronger, more frequent. She lay back on the mattress, staring at the water-stained ceiling. You can do something good and still suffer the consequences. "I'm sorry," she whispered to her baby. "I'm so sorry. For giving away food they couldn't spare, for not having a father who cared, for bringing a child into a world where $16 felt like both everything and nothing." Her phone buzzed. A text from Keisha. "You okay?" Maya typed back. "Yeah, just tired. Eat something." "I will." She wouldn't. Not tonight. The $16 had to stretch as far as possible, and hunger was something she could endure. The baby was still getting nutrients. She'd read that somewhere. The baby would be okay. She had to believe that. Maya pulled the thin blanket over herself, even though the room was warm, and closed her eyes. Sleep didn't come easily. It never did anymore. But eventually exhaustion won, dragging her under into a restless, dreamless dark. When she woke, it was still night. The streetlight outside cast a sickly yellow glow through the window. Her mouth was dry, her stomach cramped with hunger. She reached for the water bottle by the mattress and drank slowly, making it last. Tomorrow she'd go back to the corner. She'd sell what she had left. She'd make enough to pay Mrs. Fitch and keep the lights on literally, since the electricity in this place was about as reliable as a coin flip. Tomorrow she'd be smarter. She'd hold on to her money. She wouldn't give it away no matter who asked. Tomorrow she thought, I'll be more careful. But even as she thought it, she knew it was a lie. Because if Evelyn showed up again, hungry and desperate, Maya would give her something. Because if anyone else asked, Maya would find a way to help, even if it meant she went without. Life doesn't promise to reward kind people right away. And maybe that was the problem. Maybe kindness was supposed to cost something. Maybe that's what made it worth anything at all. Maya closed her eyes again and tried to sleep. But the hunger stayed with her, curling up in her chest like a second heartbeat. Maya woke before dawn, not because she was rested, but because her body refused to stay still. Her back screamed. Her ankles were swollen. The baby was kicking hard as if protesting the conditions of its temporary home. She sat up slowly, swinging her legs over the side of the mattress. Her head swam. She pressed her palm against the wall until the dizziness passed. $16. She counted it again, even though she'd memorized every crease in every bill. No food to sell today. She'd given most of it away, and what little she'd sold yesterday barely made back the cost of buying supplies in the first place. The math wasn't mathing, as Keisha liked to say. Maya stood and dressed in the same clothes as yesterday. No point in changing when you only had 2 outfits anyway. She grabbed her empty bag and walked out into the hallway. Mrs. Fitch's door was closed, but Maya could hear the TV blaring inside. She moved quietly down the stairs and out onto the street. The morning air was cooler, but it wouldn't last. By noon, the heat would be unbearable again. She walked to her usual corner even though she had nothing to sell. Maybe someone would take pity on her. Maybe Keisha would share food again. Maybe Maya. She turned. Keisha was jogging toward her, her face tight with worry. "What are you doing here?" Keisha demanded. "You don't have any stock." "I know." "So why?" Keisha stopped, really looking at her. "When's the last time you ate?" Maya didn't answer. "Maya." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You look like you're about to pass out." Keisha grabbed her arm. "Come on, I'm buying you breakfast." "No." "It's not a debate." Keisha steered her toward a corner deli, one of those places that sold coffee and bagels for cheap. She ordered 2 egg sandwiches and 2 orange juices, ignoring Maya's protests. They sat on the curb outside the morning crowd, flowing around them like water around stones. "Eat," Keisha said, pushing a sandwich into Maya's hands. Maya unwrapped it slowly. The smell made her mouth water and her stomach clench at the same time. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me. Just eat." They sat in silence for a few minutes, chewing mechanically. Maya felt the food hit her stomach and almost immediately felt nauseous. She'd gone too long without eating. Her body didn't know what to do with nutrition anymore. "You gave away your last supplies yesterday, didn't you?" Keisha said. Maya nodded. "To that old lady." Another nod. Keisha sighed, long and heavy. "You got the biggest heart and the worst survival instincts of anyone I've ever met." She was hungry. "So are you." "I can handle being hungry. You're pregnant, Maya. You're not just feeding yourself." Keisha's voice cracked. "What happens when you collapse, when you can't work, when the baby comes and you're too weak to take care of it?" "I don't know," Maya admitted. "I don't know. Okay, I'm just trying to make it through one day at a time. By giving everything away. By being human." Keisha looked at her for a long moment. Then she shook her head. "You're gonna get yourself killed with that attitude." "Maybe. Definitely." Keisha finished her sandwich and crumpled the wrapper. "Look, I gotta get to work. You gonna be all right?" "Yeah." "Liar." Keisha stood, brushing crumbs off her jeans. "If you need anything, and I mean anything, you call me. Got it?" "Got it." Keisha walked off, and Maya was alone again. She finished her sandwich, slowly savoring every bite. Then she drank the orange juice and felt marginally more human. The sun was climbing higher. The heat was building. Maya stood and walked back to her corner, even though she had nothing to offer. She sat on the curb and watched people pass by, their faces closed off their minds on their own problems. Around 11, she saw Evelyn. The old woman was walking slowly, looking more solid than yesterday. She spotted Maya, and her face lit up. "You," Evelyn said, approaching carefully. "I was hoping I'd see you." Maya managed a tired smile. "Hi, Evelyn." Evelyn sat down beside her, groaning as her joints protested. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small, slightly squashed muffin wrapped in a napkin. "I got this from a church breakfast," Evelyn said. "I want you to have it." Maya's throat tightened. "You don't have to. You gave me food when you had none to spare. The least I can do is return the favor." Evelyn pressed the muffin into Maya's hands. "You're carrying a life. You need to eat." Maya stared at the muffin. It was small, probably stale, but it was given with more love than most things she'd received in her life. "Thank you," Maya whispered. "God sees child," Evelyn said softly, "even when people don't." Before Maya could respond, she heard a sharp voice. "Oh, great, you're back." It was Keisha pushing her cart toward them. She stopped and stared at Evelyn, her expression hard. "You took all of Maya's food yesterday," Keisha said, "and now you're back." "Keisha," Maya started. "No, I want to know. What else do you want from her?" Evelyn stood slowly, her face calm. "I didn't come to take anything. I came to give something back." "A muffin." Keisha's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Wow, real generous." "Keisha, stop," Maya said firmly. "No, you stop. You stop letting people take advantage of you. You stop giving everything away when you're the one who needs help the most." Keisha's eyes were shining. "I'm trying to keep you alive, Maya. Why won't you let me?" The silence that followed was heavy. Evelyn looked at Maya, then at Keisha. "She's right to be angry," Evelyn said quietly. "You should listen to people who love you." "Love doesn't pay rent," Keisha snapped. "No," Evelyn agreed, "but it's worth more." Keisha opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked at Maya, shook her head, and walked away without another word. Evelyn sat back down. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause trouble." "You didn't," Maya said. "She's just worried." "She should be. You're in a dangerous position." Evelyn's eyes were kind but sad. "I've been where you are, alone, pregnant, scared. That was a long time ago, but I remember. And I want you to know, whatever happens, don't lose yourself. Don't let the world make you hard." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "I'm trying. I know you are." They sat together for a while, not speaking, just existing in each other's presence. Then, without warning, the world tilted. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. Her vision tunneled. The edges of the street blurred and darkened. "Child," Evelyn's voice sounded far away. Maya tried to stand. Her legs buckled. She felt herself falling the ground, rushing up to meet her. She heard Evelyn shout something, heard voices around her urgent and scared. And then everything went black. The smell hit Maya first. Antiseptic, sharp, medicinal. Her eyes fluttered open. White ceiling, fluorescent lights, the steady beep of a monitor somewhere to her left. Hospital. Panic seized her chest. She tried to sit up, but a gentle hand pressed her shoulder back down. "Easy," a voice said. "You're okay. Just breathe." Maya turned her head. A nurse stood beside the bed, her face kind but tired. "My baby," Maya gasped. "Is my baby?" "Your baby's fine," the nurse said quickly. "Heart rate is strong. You collapsed from dehydration and malnutrition." "When's the last time you had a proper meal?" Maya couldn't remember. The nurse's expression softened. "We're getting fluids into you now. Doctor will be in soon." She left, and Maya was alone with the beeping monitor and her racing thoughts. How am I going to pay for this? That was the first thought. Not relief, not gratitude, just cold, creeping fear about the bill that was already piling up with every minute she spent in this bed. The door opened. A doctor walked in, Latino, maybe 40, with tired eyes and a calm demeanor. His name tag read, Dr. Mateo Alvarez. "Miss Thompson," he said, pulling up a chair. "How are you feeling?" "Scared," Maya admitted. "Understandable," he glanced at her chart. "You're 8 months pregnant, severely malnourished, and dehydrated. We need to keep you for observation. There's a risk of preterm labor." Maya's hand flew to her stomach. "But the baby?" "The baby is okay right now. We're monitoring closely, but you need to take care of yourself. You can't run on empty and expect to carry a child to term." "I'm trying," Maya said, her voice breaking. "I'm trying so hard." Dr. Alvarez's expression softened. "I believe you, but trying isn't enough. You need help. Do you have family, friends, anyone who can support you?" "No." The father, Maya, looked away. "He's gone." Dr. Alvarez nodded slowly like he'd heard this story 1,000 times. "All right, we'll connect you with a social worker. There are programs." "I don't want charity." "It's not charity. It's resources." "There's a difference." He stood. "Rest. We'll talk more later." He left, and Maya closed her eyes. She didn't want programs. She didn't want people looking at her with pity filing paperwork about her failures, deciding what she deserved. She just wanted to take care of her baby. In a big city, the scariest thing isn't lack of people. It's lack of people who stop. Somewhere else in the same hospital, 3 floors down in the emergency wing, Evelyn Brooks lay on a gurney with an oxygen mask over her face. Her breathing was labored. Her lips were pale. A nurse checked her vitals and frowned. "Ma'am, do you have family we can call?" the nurse asked. Evelyn nodded weakly. "My son, Grant Brooks." The nurse pulled out a phone. "What's his number?" Evelyn recited it slowly, each digit an effort. The nurse dialed. The phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. "Hello." The voice was male, sharp, professional. The voice of someone who didn't have time for interruptions. "Is this Grant Brooks?" "Yes. Who is this?" "This is Mercy General Hospital. Your mother, Evelyn Brooks, is here in the ER. She's asking for you." There was a long pause. "I don't have a mother," Grant said flatly. "Sir, she specifically—" "I said I don't have a mother. Mr. Brooks, she's very ill. If you could just—" "Don't call this number again." The line went dead. The nurse stared at the phone, stunned. She looked at Evelyn, whose eyes were closed, tears leaking from the corners. "I'm sorry," the nurse whispered. Evelyn didn't respond. 30 minutes later, Grant Brooks sat in his downtown office staring at the city skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. He was 42, successful, powerful. His suits cost more than most people's rent. His watch could have fed a family for a month, and he couldn't stop thinking about the phone call. "Your mother is here." He'd buried that part of his life years ago. His childhood in poverty, his mother's addiction, the nights he went hungry, the shame of being the kid whose mom was known around the neighborhood as that homeless woman. He'd clawed his way out, made something of himself, built a wall between who he was and who he'd been. And now she was back crashing through that wall with a single phone call. Grant's phone rang. Same hospital. He almost didn't answer, but something guilt curiosity, the ghost of a little boy who once loved his mother, made him pick up. What he said. "Mr. Brooks, this is Dr. Alvarez from Mercy General. Your mother's condition is worsening. If you want to see her, you should come now." I told the nurse. "I know what you told the nurse, but I'm a doctor, not a social worker, so I'll be blunt. Your mother is dying. Whatever issues you have, they can wait." "She can't." The line went quiet. "She's in the ER bed 12. Dr. Alvarez said, 'I'll be here if you come.'" He hung up. Grant sat there, phone in hand, the city stretched out before him like proof of his success. And all he could think about was a small apartment 25 years ago where his mother sang to him before bed, even when there was no food in the fridge. "Damn it," he whispered. He grabbed his keys and walked out. Grant Brooks walked into Mercy General like a man heading toward execution. The ER was chaos, overcrowded, understaffed, reeking of desperation, an industrial cleaner. He moved through it like a ghost, past crying children and groaning adults until he found bed 12. And there she was, Evelyn Brooks, his mother. She looked so small, so fragile, nothing like the woman he remembered, loud, messy, unpredictable. This woman was a shadow, a whisper of life, held together by tubes and machines. Grant stood at the foot of the bed, frozen. Evelyn's eyes opened. For a moment, she didn't recognize him. Then her face crumpled. "Grant," she breathed. He moved closer, his legs shaking. "Mom." The word felt foreign in his mouth. He hadn't called her that in over 20 years. "You came," Evelyn whispered. "I didn't think you would." "I almost didn't." "I don't blame you." She coughed, the sound wet and rattling. "I failed you. I know that. We don't need to." "Yes, we do." Her hand reached for his. He hesitated, then took it. Her skin was cold and papery. "I'm sorry. For everything. For being sick. For losing the house. For making you grow up too fast." Grant's throat closed. "I'm sorry too. For leaving. For cutting you off. You had to survive." Evelyn's eyes were clear-focused. "You did good, baby. You made something of yourself. I'm so proud of you." A tear slid down Grant's cheek. He didn't bother wiping it away. "There's something I need you to do," Evelyn said, her voice urgent despite its weakness. "Anything. There's a girl. Young. Pregnant. Maya." Evelyn gripped his hand tighter. "She gave me her last $7. Bought me food when she was starving herself. That girl, she saved my life, Grant, for one more day. And I want you to help her." Grant stared. $7. Everything she had. $7. Grant spent more than that on coffee every morning. To him it was pocket change. To Maya, it had been survival. "She's in this hospital," Evelyn continued. "She collapsed today. Please, Grant, find her. Help her. Don't let her struggle the way we did." "Mom, promise me." Grant's vision blurred. "I promise." Evelyn smiled, relaxed back into the pillow. "Thank you." A nurse entered, checked the monitors, and frowned. "Mr. Brooks, you should probably say what you need to say now." Grant understood. He leaned closer, pressing his forehead against his mother's hand. "I love you," he whispered. "I'm sorry it took me so long to say it." "I know," Evelyn breathed. "I've always known." When he left the room 10 minutes later, Grant was a different man. He found Dr. Alvarez in the hallway reviewing charts. "Dr. Grant said, there's a pregnant woman here, Maya Thompson. I need to find her." Dr. Alvarez looked up surprised. "Why, my mother. She asked me to help her." "Your mother is Evelyn Brooks." "Yes." Dr. Alvarez studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Follow me." They walked through the hospital corridors, past nurses and patients, and the endless hum of medical machinery. Dr. Alvarez stopped outside a room and knocked gently before entering. Maya was sitting up in bed, an IV in her arm, her hand resting on her swollen belly. "Miss Thompson," Dr. Alvarez said, "this is Grant Brooks. He'd like to speak with you if you're up for it." Maya looked at Grant warily. "I don't know you." "No," Grant said, "but I know about you. My mother Evelyn, she told me what you did." Maya's expression shifted. "Is she okay?" Grant's face said everything. "Oh," Maya whispered. "Oh no." "She's dying," Grant said bluntly. "But before she goes, she wanted me to find you. She said you saved her life. I just gave her some food. You gave her your last $7. Maya looked down. "It wasn't a big deal." "Yes, it was." Grant moved closer. "To her, it was everything. And she wanted me to repay that kindness. I don't want anything. I'm not asking what you want. I'm telling you what I'm going to do." Grant's voice was firm, but not unkind. "I'm going to make sure you're taken care of. You and your baby." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Why?" "Because you gave everything when you had nothing. And my mother taught me tonight that that's the only thing that matters." Dr. Alvarez quietly left the room. Grant sat down in the chair beside Maya's bed. "Tell me what you need." "I need to take care of myself." "You are, by accepting help." Maya shook her head. "I don't want to owe anyone." "You don't owe me anything. I owe you. You kept my mother alive long enough for me to tell her I loved her. That's a debt I can never repay, but I can try." Maya was silent for a long time. "Okay," she finally whispered. "Okay." Grant nodded. "What's the first thing you need?" "A place to live. I'm getting evicted." "Done." "What else?" "Food, medicine, baby supplies." "Done." Maya looked at him. Really looked at him. "Who are you?" "Someone who forgot what it was like to be human," Grant said quietly. "Until my mother reminded me." 2 hours later, the hospital descended into controlled chaos. Maya's contractions started suddenly hard and fast. She gasped, doubling over her hand, flying to her belly. The pain was unlike anything she'd ever felt, a vice tightening around her entire abdomen, squeezing until she couldn't breathe. "Get the doctor," a nurse shouted, rushing to Maya's bedside. "How long between contractions?" another nurse asked, checking the monitors. "Less than 5 minutes, and they're strong." Maya tried to speak, but another contraction hit, stealing her breath. She gripped the bed rails, her knuckles white. Dr. Alvarez came running, still pulling on gloves. "How far along is she?" 32 weeks. High risk, premature labor." "Damn." He moved to Maya's side. "Maya, listen to me. Your baby's coming early. We're going to do everything we can, but I need you to stay calm." "Can you do that?" Maya nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Please don't let my baby die." "We're not going to let that happen." Dr. Alvarez turned to the nurses. "Prep delivery room 2. Get NICU on standby. She's going now." They wheeled Maya out of the regular room, the fluorescent lights blurring overhead as the gurney moved fast through the hallways. Maya caught glimpses of other patients, other families, all frozen in their own moments of crisis. Someone had called Keisha. Maya didn't know who, maybe one of the nurses who'd seen them together earlier. But suddenly Keisha was there, jogging alongside the gurney, her face streaked with tears. "I'm here," Keisha said, grabbing Maya's hand. "I'm right here." "Keisha, don't talk. Just breathe. You hear me? Just breathe." They burst through the doors into the delivery room. Bright lights, medical equipment, too many people in scrubs moving with urgent precision. A nurse helped Maya shift onto the delivery bed. Another one attached more monitors. The beeping filled the room, a rapid staccato that matched Maya's racing heart. "Blood pressure's elevated," someone called out. "Get her on oxygen." A mask was placed over Maya's face. The air tasted sterile and cold. Dr. Alvarez positioned himself at the foot of the bed. "Maya, I'm going to check how dilated you are." She nodded, unable to speak through the mask and the pain. "She's at 8 centimeters, Dr. Alvarez said. "This baby's coming fast. Maya, when I tell you to push, you push as hard as you can. Understand?" Maya nodded again. Keisha moved to her side, gripping her hand so tight it hurt. "You got this. You're the strongest person I know. You survived sleeping in that hellhole room. You survived giving away your last dollar. You survived collapsing on the street. You can survive this." Another contraction. Maya screamed into the oxygen mask. "That's it," Dr. Alvarez said. "Use that energy. Channel it." Outside in the hallway, Grant Brooks paced like a caged animal. He'd been in thousands of high-pressure situations in his career: board meetings, negotiations, hostile takeovers. But nothing had prepared him for this, for waiting, for being helpless. A nurse walked by, and he grabbed her arm, not roughly, but desperately. "The woman in there, Maya Thompson, is she going to be okay?" The nurse's expression was professional but kind. "The doctor's with her. That's all I can tell you. She has to be okay. She has to." The nurse patted his hand. "Are you family?" Grant paused. They'd known each other for less than a day, but his mother's dying wish connected them in a way that felt more real than blood. "Yes," he said, "I'm family." "Then pray," the nurse said simply. "That's all you can do right now." She walked away, and Grant slumped against the wall. He thought about his mother, about how she died alone for so many years while he built his empire, about how Maya had really seen her when no one else would. His phone buzzed. His assistant. He ignored it. Another buzz. A board member. Ignored. Nothing mattered right now except the woman fighting for her life and her baby's life 3 doors down. Inside, Maya was fading. "Blood pressure's dropping," a nurse called out urgently. "Maya, stay with me," Dr. Alvarez said sharply. "Look at me. Look at me." Maya's eyes found his glazed with pain and exhaustion. "You have to push. On the next contraction, I need everything you have. Your baby needs you. You understand?" Maya tried to nod, but another contraction hit this one so powerful she arched off the bed. "Now," Dr. Alvarez commanded. "Push!" Maya bore down, every muscle in her body straining. She felt like she was being ripped apart from the inside out. She heard herself screaming, but it sounded far away, like it was someone else's voice. "Good again. Don't stop." Keisha was crying openly now, still holding Maya's hand, still whispering encouragement that Maya couldn't quite hear over the roaring in her ears. "I can see the head," Dr. Alvarez said. "One more big push. Come on, Maya. One more." Maya didn't think she had anything left. Her body was empty, wrung out, finished. But somewhere deep inside, in that place where mothers find impossible strength, she found one more push. She screamed, bearing down with everything she had, and then silence. For one terrible eternal second there was complete silence. Then a cry, weak, thin, but unmistakably alive. "It's a girl," Dr. Alvarez said, and his voice was thick with emotion. "You have a daughter." Maya collapsed back against the bed, sobbing. "Is she okay? Please tell me she's okay." "She's small, very small, but she's breathing." A NICU team rushed forward, taking the tiny squirming infant. "We need to get her stabilized." "Wait." Maya tried to sit up. "I want to see her." A nurse gently held her down. "They're just making sure she's okay. You'll see her soon. I promise." Maya watched helplessly as they carried her daughter away, this tiny person she'd kept safe inside her body for 8 months now, out in the world, and so fragile Maya was terrified she'd break. Keisha squeezed her hand. "She's gonna be fine. She's your daughter. She's a fighter." Dr. Alvarez finished the delivery checking to make sure Maya was stable. "You did good, really good, but you lost a lot of blood. We're going to keep you here for observation. My baby. The NICU team is excellent. She's in good hands." He pulled off his gloves. "Rest. I'll check on your daughter and come back with an update." He left, and Maya was alone with Keisha and the aftermath of birth, her body shaking, her mind reeling, her heart split between relief and terror. "What if she doesn't make it?" Maya whispered. "Don't," Keisha said fiercely. "Don't go there. She's here. She's alive." That's what matters. Maya closed her eyes, exhausted beyond measure, and let herself drift. 3 floors down, in a quieter corner of the hospital, Evelyn Brooks was dying. The monitors around her bed beeped steadily, but each beep was weaker than the last. Her breathing was shallow, labored. Her skin had taken on a grayish pallor. Grant sat beside her, holding her hand. He'd been there for an hour, just sitting, just being present in a way he hadn't been for 25 years. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said, even though she probably couldn't hear him anymore. "I'm sorry I left. I'm sorry I pretended you didn't exist. I'm sorry for all of it." Evelyn's eyes fluttered open just barely. "Grant," she breathed, her voice so faint he had to lean in close to hear. "I'm here." "The girl, Maya." "She's having her baby right now. I'm going to help her, I promise." Evelyn smiled, just the barest curve of her lips. "Good boy." A nurse came in, checked the monitors, and her expression said everything. "How long?" Grant asked. "Not long. Minutes, maybe." Grant nodded, his throat too tight to speak. The nurse left, giving them privacy for these final moments. "You were a good mother," Grant said, and he meant it. "When you were healthy, when things were good, you were the best mother. I remember. I remember you singing to me, reading to me, making me feel safe." Evelyn's hand squeezed his so weakly he almost missed it. "The addiction. It wasn't you. I understand that now. You were sick, and I'm sorry I punished you for being sick." Another weak squeeze. Grant leaned forward, resting his forehead against their joined hands. "I love you, Mom. I'm sorry it took me this long to say it again." "Love you," Evelyn managed. "Always did." The monitor's beeping slowed. Dr. Alvarez entered quietly, checking the equipment. He caught Grant's eye and shook his head slightly. "Is the baby?" Evelyn struggled to speak. Dr. Alvarez stepped forward. "The baby's born, Evelyn. A little girl. She's in NICU, but she's stable. She's going to make it." Evelyn's entire face relaxed. Tears leaked from the corners of her eyes. "Thank God." "And Maya's okay too," Dr. Alvarez added gently. "She's resting. Because of your son, she's going to have help. She's going to be okay." Evelyn looked at Grant, her eyes clear and peaceful for the first time in years. "You did good. Because of you," Grant said. "You taught me. Even at the end, you taught me." The monitor's beeping became erratic. "It's okay, Mom," Grant said, his voice breaking. "It's okay to let go. I'm going to be okay. And I'm going to make sure Maya and her baby are okay too, I promise." Evelyn took one more shallow breath. Then the monitor went flat, the long, continuous beep filling the room. Grant didn't move. He sat there holding his mother's hand as it grew cold, and he cried silently for her, for himself, for all the years they'd lost. Dr. Alvarez placed a hand on his shoulder. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you," Grant managed, "for being kind to her, for seeing her as human. She was easy to be kind to. She cared more about that girl upstairs than she cared about herself. That tells you what kind of person she was." Grant nodded, unable to speak. A nurse came in to handle the formalities, turning off machines, documenting the time of death, preparing the body for the morgue. Grant stood slowly, his legs unsteady. He looked at his mother one last time, memorizing her face. "Goodbye, Mom," he whispered. "Rest now. You earned it." He walked out of the room and headed straight for the NICU. The NICU was dimly lit, hushed, filled with tiny esolettes and the soft sounds of medical equipment. Grant was stopped at the door by a nurse. "I'm sorry, only immediate family. I'm Grant Brooks. I'm covering all expenses for baby Thompson. I need to see her." The nurse hesitated, then nodded. "Wash your hands. Don't touch anything." Grant scrubbed his hands thoroughly, then followed the nurse through the rows of tiny, fragile lives. They stopped at an esolette in the corner. Inside was the smallest human being Grant had ever seen. She was maybe 4 pounds, covered in tubes and wires, her chest rising and falling with rapid, shallow breaths. But she was alive. "She's a fighter," the nurse said softly. "Came out screaming. Good lung capacity for a preemie." Grant stared at this tiny person who'd cost his mother her last $7. No, this tiny person who'd given his mother a reason to hold on one more day. Long enough for him to say goodbye. Long enough for reconciliation. Long enough for everything to mean something. "Thank you," Grant whispered to the baby. "Thank you for saving my mother's soul." The baby's little hand twitched, and Grant Brooks, powerful, wealthy, unreachable Grant Brooks, broke down completely. He stood there in the NICU, surrounded by fragile new life, and cried for his mother, for this baby, for Maya, for every person he'd walked past without seeing in his climb to success. Some people leave just to make sure the good things stay. When he finally composed himself, he asked the nurse, "Can I see the mother Maya Thompson? She's in recovery, room 412. Grant nodded his thanks and made his way upstairs. Maya woke up slowly, her body heavy with exhaustion and medication. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then it all came crashing back: the contractions, the delivery room, the weak cry of her baby. "My daughter," she croaked, trying to sit up. Keisha was there immediately, gently pushing her back down. "Easy. You just went through hell." "Where is she? Is she okay?" "She's in NICU. She's stable. The doctor said she's doing better than expected for a 32-weeker. Maya's eyes filled with tears. "I want to see her." "You will, soon as you're strong enough to move." Keisha smoothed Maya's hair back from her sweaty forehead. "You did it, Mama. You brought her into this world. I was so scared." "I know. I was too." Keisha's voice cracked. "But she's here. She's real. And she's going to be okay." A knock at the door interrupted them. Grant Brooks entered hesitantly, looking more disheveled than Maya had seen him before. His eyes were red-rimmed. "I'm sorry to interrupt," Grant said. I wanted to tell you. My mother passed." Maya's heart clenched. "Oh, God. I'm so sorry." "Don't be. She went peacefully. And she knew your baby was born. We told her before she went." Grant's voice wavered. She smiled. For the first time in months, she really smiled. Maya wiped at her tears. "She was a good person." "She was. And so are you." Grant approached the bed slowly. "I made her a promise that I'd help you, that I'd make sure you and your baby were taken care of, and I intend to keep that promise." Keisha stood up straighter, protective. "What exactly does that mean?" Grant held up his hands. "Not what you're thinking. I'm not trying to take over. I'm not trying to buy anyone. I just want to help." "How?" Maya asked warily. "However you need. A place to live. Help with medical bills. Support while you get back on your feet." Grant pulled out his phone. "I've already started looking into housing options. Safe neighborhoods, places with good schools nearby. Nothing extravagant, just stable. I can't afford. I'm covering it. For as long as you need." Maya shook her head. "I don't want charity." "It's not charity." Grant's voice was firm. "My mother died alone on the streets because I abandoned her. Because I was ashamed. Because I chose money over humanity. You didn't do that. You saw her. You helped her. You gave her dignity. That's worth more than any amount of money." "That doesn't mean you owe me anything." "Yes, it does." Grant sat down in the chair beside the bed. "You know what my mother's last words to me were? You did good. She was proud of me. Not because of my wealth or success, but because I promised to help you. That's what made her proud. And I'm not going to break that promise." Keisha crossed her arms. "Okay, but what happens when you get bored of playing savior? What happens when the novelty wears off and Maya's left high and dry?" "That won't happen." "How do we know that?" Grant met her challenging gaze steadily. "Because I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it because not doing it would mean everything my mother taught me at the end was meaningless. And I won't let her death be meaningless." The room fell silent. Maya looked at Keisha, then at Grant. "If I accept your help, I need to know it's not going to come with strings. I'm not going to be owned. I'm not going to be controlled." "Agreed," Grant said immediately, "and I want to be able to support myself eventually. This is temporary help until I can stand on my own." "That's exactly what I want too." "And if I say no to something, you respect that?" "Absolutely." Maya studied him for a long moment. "Why are you really doing this?" Grant was quiet, choosing his words carefully. "Because 25 years ago, I was a kid living in poverty with a mother who was struggling with addiction. And instead of getting her help, instead of standing by her, I ran. I built a wall between who I was and who I wanted to be. I convinced myself that my past didn't matter, that I could just leave it behind." He looked down at his hands. "But you can't leave it behind. It follows you. And my mother, she never stopped being my mother, even when I stopped being her son." His voice broke. "You gave her one last day where she felt seen, where she felt human, where she felt like she mattered. And that day gave me the chance to tell her I loved her, to say goodbye, to make peace with everything I'd done wrong. That's not something I can repay with money, but I can try to honor it by helping you the way I should have helped her." Maya's throat tightened. She looked at Keisha, who was wiping her own eyes. "Okay," Maya said softly. "Okay, I'll accept your help, but as partners, not as charity." "Partners," Grant agreed, standing and extending his hand. Maya shook at her hand, small and weak in his. "Now." Grant said, his tone becoming more businesslike. Let's talk logistics. You're getting evicted from your boarding house, correct? I was supposed to have rent by yesterday. Consider it handled. I'll pay what you owe and cover moving costs. In the meantime, I've found a few apartment options, all in safe neighborhoods, all with reasonable rent that I'll cover for the first year while you get situated. A year? Maya's eyes widened. Is that not enough I can do longer? No, that's incredibly generous. It's not generous. It's fair. Grant pulled out his tablet showing her listings. This one is near a community center with childcare subsidies. This one is close to a hospital with good pediatric care. This one... Wait. Maya held up her hand. Can I see my daughter first before we make any decisions? Grant immediately put the tablet away. Of course. I'm sorry. That should have been the first thing. A nurse came in to check Maya's vitals. When she was satisfied, she helped Maya into a wheelchair. Keisha pushed her down the hallway toward the NICU, Grant walking beside them. At the NICU entrance, they had to wash their hands and put on gowns. Then the nurse led them to a small esaulette in the corner. Here she is, the nurse said gently. Baby girl Thompson. Maya's breath caught. Her daughter was so small, so impossibly heartbreakingly small. Tubes and wires covered her tiny body. A breathing tube, an IV, heart monitors. But her chest was rising and falling. Her little fingers were curled into fists. She was alive. Can I touch her? Maya whispered, through the openings in the side, gently. Maya reached in with a trembling hand and touched her daughter's tiny foot. It was warm, real, hers. Hi, baby, Maya breathed. Hi, I'm your mama. I'm right here. The baby's foot twitched under her touch. Maya started crying deep, wrenching sobs that came from somewhere ancient and primal. Keisha crouched beside the wheelchair, holding her. Grant stood back, giving them space, but Maya could see he was crying too. She needs a name, Keisha said softly. Maya looked at her daughter, this tiny warrior who'd fought to be born, who'd survived against odds, who'd come into a broken world with nothing but determination. Hope, Maya said. Her name is Hope. Hope Thompson, Keisha repeated. It's perfect. Hope, Maya whispered again, touching her daughter's hand through the isolette opening. Because you're the reason I didn't give up. You're the reason I kept fighting. And you're the reason I'll keep fighting. Hope's tiny hand closed around Maya's finger, just barely, just enough to feel. And Maya knew in that moment that everything she'd been through had led to this. Every struggle, every sacrifice, every impossible choice. It had all been leading to this tiny person, this small miracle, this hope. 2 days later, Maya was discharged, but Hope had to stay in NICU for at least another month. The doctors said she was progressing well, but preemies needed time. Grant had arranged everything. A furnished one-bedroom apartment in a building with security. Not fancy, but clean and safe. The lease was in Maya's name. 6 months paid in advance. After that, Grant explained, as he helped carry boxes inside, you can decide if you want to stay or move somewhere else. Your choice. But you won't be homeless while you're figuring it out. Keisha was there too, unpacking kitchen supplies. This is like that TV show where they surprise poor people with makeovers, except less tacky. It's not a makeover, Grant said patiently. It's just basic stability. For most people, this is way more than basic. Keisha gestured around the apartment. But I appreciate that you're trying not to be weird about it. I'm learning, Grant admitted. Maya sat on the couch, an actual couch, not a mattress on the floor, and looked around. The walls were painted a soft cream color. The windows had curtains. The kitchen had a refrigerator that hummed steadily, not in the half-broken way her old one did. It felt surreal. You okay? Grant asked, noticing her expression. I don't know, Maya said honestly. This is more than I ever imagined having. You deserve it. Do I? The question came out before she could stop it. Grant sat down in the chair across from her. Yes, you absolutely do. And I'm going to keep saying that until you believe it. Keisha came out of the kitchen. Real talk, this apartment is nicer than mine, and I've been working my ass off for 3 years. If you need help, Grant started. Nope, don't you dare. Keisha pointed at him. Maya's my girl, so I'm tolerating your rich person intervention, but I don't need saving. I'm doing fine. Are you? Grant asked gently. Keisha's defenses came up immediately. Yes, because there are resources. I said I'm fine. Grant held up his hands. Okay, but if that changes, let me know. Keisha muttered something under her breath and went back to unpacking. Maya's phone buzzed. The hospital. She answered immediately. Miss Thompson, this is NICU. Hope is awake and alert if you want to come visit. I'll be right there. She hung up and looked at Grant. Can you drive me? Of course. They left Keisha to finish unpacking and drove to the hospital. In the car, Maya stared out the window at the city passing by, the same city she'd been living in for 2 years, but it looked different now. Less hostile, more like a place where things could happen. What are you thinking? Grant asked. I'm thinking about your mother, about how she spent her last bit of energy telling you to help me instead of asking you to help her. She did, Grant said quietly. That's the most selfless thing I've ever heard. She was selfless her whole life. Even when she was sick, even when the addiction had her, she still tried to protect me. I couldn't see it at the time. They drove in silence for a bit. I'm going to set up a foundation, Grant said suddenly, in her name. For women like you, pregnant women in crisis, single mothers who need support, people the system forgot. Maya looked at him. That's a good idea. I want you to be part of it. Me. You know what it's like. You know what actually helps versus what's just performative. Grant pulled into the hospital parking lot. I can throw money at things all day long, but money without understanding is useless. I need someone who's been there. Maya considered it. What would I have to do? Consult. Help design programs. Maybe eventually work with clients directly if you want to. But no pressure. You focus on hope first. Everything else is secondary. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. They went up to NICU together. Hope was indeed awake, her little eyes open and unfocused, trying to make sense of the world she'd been thrust into too early. Maya reached into the isolette and stroked Hope's cheek. Hi, sweet girl. Mama's here. Hope turned toward the sound of her voice just slightly, and Maya's heart exploded with love so intense it almost hurt. She knows you, Grant observed. She knows my voice. I talked to her every day when she was inside. Maya smiled through tears. I told her stories. Made up songs, promised her things would be okay. Were you lying? At the time, yeah. Maya laughed softly. But maybe it wasn't a lie. Maybe I was just speaking things into existence. Grant watched her with her daughter and felt something shift in his chest. Purpose, that's what this was. For the first time in his adult life, his success felt like it meant something beyond numbers in a bank account. Thank you, he said. Maya looked up confused. For what? For showing me what matters. 6 months later, Maya stood in front of a room full of women, some pregnant, some with small children, all of them scared and struggling. This was her first official day as a peer counselor for the Evelyn Brooks Foundation. Hi, she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. My name is Maya Thompson. 6 months ago, I was sleeping in a boarding house room that cost more than I could afford, selling fruit on the street to survive, and 8 months pregnant with no support system. The women looked at her with a mixture of recognition and skepticism. They'd heard these stories before, the I made it out speeches that felt like fantasy. I know what you're thinking, Maya continued. You're thinking I got lucky. You're thinking my situation was probably easier than yours. You're thinking this is going to be another feel-good story that doesn't actually help. A few nods around the room. You're right to think that, because most of the time, that's exactly what these stories are. Maya sat down on the edge of the desk, making herself level with them. But I'm not here to tell you it's easy. I'm not here to say that if you just believe hard enough, everything will work out. That's bullshit. A surprised laugh from a woman in the back. I'm here to tell you that it's hard. It's so hard you're going to want to quit every single day. But I'm also here to tell you that you don't have to do it alone. And that makes all the difference. She spent the next hour talking with them, not at them, with them. Answering questions, sharing resources, listening to their stories. After the session, Grant found her in the hallway. How'd it go? He asked. Good, I think. They're suspicious of me, which is fair. I would be too. Maya adjusted Hope in her carrier. The baby was 6 months old now, chubby and healthy and perfect. But a few of them stayed after to talk. So that's something. That's everything, Grant corrected. You're reaching people I could never reach. They see me as the rich guy trying to buy a conscience. They see you as someone who understands. Because I do. They walked together toward the exit. The foundation office was small, but growing 3 rooms in a community center, staffed by 2 social workers, a healthcare coordinator, and now Maya. We got the grant, Grant said casually. What grant? The federal grant for maternal health services, $250,000 over 2 years. Maya stopped walking. Are you serious? Dead serious, which means we can expand, hire more staff, reach more women. Grant smiled. All thanks to your proposal, by the way. The grant committee said it was the most human-centered application they'd received. Maya felt a surge of pride. She'd worked on that proposal for weeks, pouring her experience into every word. To know it had made a difference was almost overwhelming. What's wrong? Grant asked, seeing her expression. Nothing's wrong. It's just 6 months ago, I had $7 and no hope. Now I'm helping write grant proposals that secure funding for hundreds of women. She shook her head. It doesn't feel real. It's real. You earned it. Did I? Or did I just get lucky? Grant stopped and turned to face her fully. Listen to me. Luck was meeting my mother. Luck was me having the resources to help. But what you did with that help, that's all you. You could have taken the apartment and the support and just focused on surviving. Instead, you turned around and started helping others. That's not luck. That's character. Hope made a gurgling sound as if agreeing. Maya laughed. Thanks, baby girl. They continued walking. Outside, the afternoon sun was warm. Detroit didn't look so harsh anymore, or maybe Maya had just learned to see it differently. I'm going to the corner, she said suddenly. What corner? The corner where I used to sell fruit, where I met your mom. I haven't been back since everything happened. Want company? Maya considered, then shook her head. I think I need to do this alone. Understood. Call if you need anything. She took the bus. She could have asked Grant for a ride, but some things felt important to do the old way. The bus route was familiar, the faces of other passengers achingly recognizable. These were her people, the working poor, the ones clinging to the bottom rung. She got off at her old stop and walked the 3 blocks to the corner. It looked exactly the same. The office buildings, the flow of people in business clothes, the patch of sidewalk where she used to spread her blanket. Keisha was there, working her cart like always. Well, well, Keisha said, grinning. Look who's back. Thought you'd forgotten about us little people? Never. Maya hugged her friend. How's business? Same as always. Shitty, but consistent. Keisha looked at Hope, cooing. Look at this chunky baby, she's gotten so big. She's healthy. Finally hit all her developmental milestones. That's my girl. Keisha tickled Hope's foot. You still working with Grant's foundation? Yeah. It's good. Hard, but good. You save anybody yet? I don't think I'm saving anyone. I'm just standing with them. Keisha studied her. You know what? You look different. Not just the nicer clothes and the fed baby look. You look settled, like you finally believe you deserve to take up space. I'm working on it. Well, keep working. It suits you. Keisha glanced at her watch. Shit, I gotta get to my next spot. Lunch rush at the courthouse. Be safe. Always am. Keisha rolled away, and Maya was alone on the corner. She looked down at the patch of sidewalk where she used to sit, where she'd given away her last food to Evelyn, where she'd made the choice that had changed everything. Thank you, Maya whispered. She didn't know if she was talking to Evelyn, to the universe, to God, or just to herself. Maybe it didn't matter. A young woman walked by, visibly pregnant, looking lost and scared. She had that same hollow look. Maya remembered wearing the look of someone who was barely holding on. The woman slowed down, noticing Maya with hope. Excuse me, the woman said hesitantly. I'm sorry to bother you, but do you know if there are any resources around here for pregnant women who need help? Maya smiled. Actually, yes. I work for a foundation that helps women in your situation. We have housing assistance, medical care, coordination, job placement. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really? Maya pulled out a card from her bag, the Evelyn Brooks Foundation. Come by tomorrow. Ask for Maya. We'll figure it out together. The woman took the card like it was a lifeline. Thank you. Oh my God, thank you. You don't have to thank me, just show up. I will, I promise. The woman hurried away, clutching the card. Maya looked down at Hope, who was watching the world with curious eyes. See that baby girl? That's what it's about. Not saving people, just showing them they don't have to be invisible. Hope grabbed Maya's finger and squeezed. Maya thought about everything that had happened. About $7, about Evelyn, about Grant and his late arriving redemption, about Keisha still grinding on this same corner. About all the women who would come through the foundation doors, scared and desperate and hoping for a miracle. The world doesn't change because of grand speeches. It changes because someone dares to stop. She stayed on that corner for another 20 minutes, just standing there remembering and honoring and promising. Then she walked to the bus stop, hope secure against her chest, and headed home to the apartment that still sometimes felt too good to be true to the life she was building, one day at a time. That evening, Grant called. "How was your pilgrimage?" he asked. "Good. Necessary." Maya bounced hope gently. "I ran into someone who needs help. Gave her our card." "See, you're already making a difference. One person at a time. That's how it works. One person, one moment, one choice." Grant paused. "Hey, I've been thinking. We should create a scholarship, in your name and my mother's, for single mothers who want to go back to school. That would be amazing. Let's work on it next week." "We can." Grant Maya interrupted gently. "Thank you." "For what?" "For keeping your promise, for not disappearing when things got hard, for treating me like a person and not a project." "Maya, you were never a project. You are a teacher. You taught me how to be human again." They talked for a few more minutes, making plans for the foundation, discussing new initiatives, dreaming bigger. After she hung up, Maya got Hope ready for bed. She sang softly while changing her diaper, the same made-up songs she used to sing when Hope was still inside her. "We did it, baby," Maya whispered as Hope's eyes drooped closed. "We made it through. And now we get to help other people make it through too." She laid Hope in her crib in a real nursery, in a real home, and stood there watching her daughter sleep. $7 didn't buy a miracle, but it bought something rarer, a heart that refused to turn to stone. Maya thought about Evelyn often, about how a homeless woman had used her dying breath to help someone else, about how that single act of selflessness had created ripples that were still spreading. The Evelyn Brooks Foundation would help hundreds of women, maybe thousands over time. Each one of them representing a choice, the choice to see people as human, to treat dignity as a right, to believe that everyone deserves a chance. And it had all started with $7 and a hungry woman on a street corner. Maya walked to the window and looked out at Detroit, messy, complicated, beautiful Detroit, the city that had almost broken her, the city that had taught her resilience, the city that was now home. She thought about all the women out there right now, sitting on street corners, or in boarding houses, or in cars, or wherever they could find shelter. Women who were pregnant and scared and out of options. Women who felt invisible. "I see you," Maya whispered to them, to the city, to the night. "And I'm coming to help." Because that was the real legacy of $7. Not money, not charity, not salvation. Just one person refusing to look away. And sometimes that's enough to change the world.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.